Open your mind and journey through the cosmos of the universe. This is Bridging Realms with Dr. Jean Carlisle and False Freedom 691.
Welcome back to another episode of Bridging Realms. Guys, I hate to do this, but we've got to begin the episode on a little bit more of a somber note.
Yeah, some really sad stuff has happened recently. You know, conspiracy culture is super crazy right now, especially with everything going on in politics. You know, we usually don't get into politics or any of the dark side of conspiracy culture, but, you know, sometimes it rears its ugly head.
Yeah, so unfortunately, another candle burned out Sunday morning in Jeffery Epstein passed away.
He, well, I mean, you could say he passed away. I definitely think he was suicided, by the deep state. Be that who you think it is, I've definitely, been online and checking, what people are saying. Some people think it was the Clintons. Some people think Trump. What do you think? Do you think, False, it seems to have hit you pretty hard? Do you think it was a legitimate suicide?
Well, I kind of always thought that he had the right idea for the island, and I'm kind of hung up on it. So he made one mistake. The guy made one mistake.
Well, it was a pedo island, right? Like,
that was the mistake.
Okay, yeah.
The pedophilia was the mistake.
Good. I didn't know where you were going there.
I'm being clear that the pedophilia was the mistake. He should have filled the island with barely legal teens.
Okay, I see where you're going here.
Barely legal, yeah. And, you know, the kind of place I could go and find a woman who acts like she's interested in me. You know, that kind of place. That really sounds... I feel like he was onto something. He was just off a little bit. You know, it's kind of like when McDonald's came out with the Big Mac and it didn't have the bread in between it. And
then it's just a double cheeseburger.
Yeah, so
with Thousand Island sauce.
They add that extra piece of bread, and for Jeffrey Epstein, the extra piece of bread was barely legal teenage girls. That's what he was missing.
That's what he needed, not the illegal part, but the barely. He needed, yeah.
Yeah, so it's
right.
It's politicians and then teen girls. So that middle bread part is barely legal. So then it's politicians, barely legal, teen girls. And then it works, you know. It just works.
Right.
Well-oiled machine.
All right, so let's talk about our subject of the day. We're going a little bit different than what we had been talking about, which, you know, we did a 3-part series on the Blue Planet Project, so we talked a lot of aliens. So now we want to bring it to Earth, and we want to talk about some of the mysteries here on Earth surrounding our own continents, you know?
Yeah, so in particular today, we are going to dive right into the mysteries surrounding Antarctica.
Right. I challenge you, the listener, to really think about Antarctica here. It's a mystery continent, you know? There's so many mysteries surrounding it.
Yeah, and it's the only uninhabited continent in existence on this Earth.
Right, super mysterious. When I think about it, there's not much to recall except for like ice, a vast amount of ice, and super coldness, you know?
Yeah, and the stuff that I'm really starting to recall from Antarctica is just that weird shit goes on there, period. Weird shit is... Every story, you never hear something normal about Antarctica. You're never going to hear something normal about a place where nobody lives.
Right. Think back, you know, what did they teach us about it in school? What did they teach you about Antarctica at school, except that it was just this big ice chunk, you know?
Yeah,
it's the South Pole. Nobody goes there.
It's the bottom of the world.
Right. It's too cold.
Yeah.
There's nothing but maybe some penguins and some polar bears. But really, I think when you think about polar bears, you think about the North Pole.
Yeah.
You know, polar bears just sitting up there drinking a Coca-Cola or something.
Yeah.
You don't really think about them in the South Pole. And from what I understand from like fucking Planet Earth and shit, that the South Pole pretty much just has like some penguins and maybe some seals. Like not really much going on.
There's probably like some whales that hang around the water there, right?
Right, yeah, whales down in the water, some fish, whatever the fuck's down there. But that's some unexplored territory, you know? It's too fucking cold. But like you said, the only reports that are coming out of there is odd shit, strange shit that's not going to be taught to you in schools.
Yeah, and you know something really weird about it is you can't even properly view Antarctica on Google Earth, which is fucked. That is totally fucked. So, like, originally, Google Earth looked sort of pixelated and shit, you know, kind of like pornography when you turn to the scrambled channel on your satellite dish. Yeah.
Right.
So
if you have a bad internet connection and it's not loading properly, you know?
Yeah. So it looked a lot like that. And then at a certain point, there was just a red cross that was like, people were like, oh, just fucked up shit happens there. So Google flat out put a cross on it.
Yeah.
And now, if you go there, it's actually just blurred. It's just a fucking blurry mess.
They've just censored it, just pixelated it out.
Yeah, just
fucked.
Completely. So a lot of people think that there's actually some secret government bases there, because we know all the governments are there.
Oh, sure, right?
That's common knowledge.
I mean, it's common knowledge that the Nazis tried to escape.
Yeah.
And many people think they had a secret base down there. Maybe they discovered some kind of underground volcanic activity, something to warm themselves, something to set up a base. Maybe they had the technology. Maybe they were working with aliens. If you look at Admiral Byrd and those stories of him going down there and exploring it, he supposedly encountered some fucking alien ships with laser beams, you know? And that's some scary shit. So there's a lot of weird stories coming out of there.
Yeah, and the Russian government supposedly found that bunker there, that Nazi bunker, with like pretty well preserved documentation, and there was sleeping quarters for several men, and they found about 500 like live pieces of ammunition, you know, there.
Oh shit!
Yeah, so the Nazis went there for sure.
So there's definitely a lot going on down there that we're not being told. The public is definitely being hidden from this information, even down to Google being censored, you know, our free internet being censored, so we cannot see what's going on this, like, desolate ice continent, you know?
Yeah, and why are we getting our news about this from the Russian government?
Right. We oftentimes have to turn to other governments to get our news about what our own government's doing. I mean, we didn't even see pictures of Area 51 until they were released by British intelligence, you know, the British spy satellite photos of Area 51. Our own government was blocking that from us. So I could definitely see them blocking this out, especially if, I mean, there's supposedly a treaty that keeps all governments from fucking with this land, you know, because it's for scientific research and shit. But could that treaty also be, you know, that each, you know, country gets their own chunk of it for their fucked up, like, you know, clandestine, black ops, off the book shit.
Yeah, and I mean, there could be just like multiple holes. You pick a hole, I'll pick a hole, and we just go at it.
So we just came off like 3 episodes about aliens and extraterrestrials, but we have to talk about their connection to Antarctica, because there is one. And you know me, I'm gonna fucking always talk about aliens and extraterrestrials because disclosure is coming. And it's here. But there's a lot of connections here with extraterrestrials. In fact, some people think that there may be some extraterrestrial bases on Antarctica.
Yeah, so back in 2017, Linda Moulton Howe had a series of interviews with a man only known as Brian.
Only Brian.
Yeah, now Brian claimed to be a former U.S. naval officer, and a little bit later down the line, a metal surfaced that kind of backed Brian's story up that he was a U.S. naval officer.
Okay.
So he claimed to have seen multiple UAEs in Antarctica. Brian claimed that there was also a large hole 5 to 10 miles from the South Pole where the crafts would emerge from, and that one time a team of scientists went on an expedition that was supposed to last about a week. They returned 2 weeks after the expedition was to end, and they could no longer speak.
Well, like, just no longer speak at all?
Yeah, just lost the ability to speak and were just in, like, a constant state of fear.
That's fucking nuts, dude.
Yeah.
And, you know, Linda Moulton Howe, my girl Linda Moulton Howe, she's fucking legit, dude. Legit journalist. She knows her shit. And I believe Brian. You know,
Yeah.
Brian also seems legit.
Guys named Brian are usually, like, pretty reliable. You know, I don't really know any lying Brians.
Right. If we have any listeners named Brian, reach out. We'd like to talk to you, see if you're a good guy or not. Most of the Brians I know are pretty good guys and trustworthy.
And if you are the Brian, we would love to have you on the show.
Yeah, we'd love to interview you. We can keep it anonymous. Just call you Brian or Navy Brian or Sailor Brian, whatever you'd like.
If you have seen the videos and you sound a lot like Brian, you know, maybe you call in. I mean, we'll take that offline.
Yeah, we can totally take that offline, but I want to get back to some alien stuff here.
Oh, yeah.
You talked about UAEs in Antarctica, and I want to bring up this UAE crash. It's been on the internet. In March of 2018, this is another Google Earth thing.
Yeah.
A UAE crash was spotted on Google Earth. There was a perfectly symmetrical trail in the snow around 3,000 feet long and metallic debris all around. At the center was a large metallic object about 63 meters in diameter. Similar to other crashes, this has been dismissed as a boulder rolling in a perfectly straight line for 3,000 feet.
Yeah, and that doesn't seem very likely to me.
Right.
This one time I tripped down a very large hill, and it felt like 3,000 feet, and I did not roll in a straight line at all. And as you know, my body is almost perfectly symmetrical in its largeness. So
yeah.
when I tumbled down that hill, you would think I would roll straight. No, I was all over the place, running into every tree possible.
Okay, so you're bouncing all over the thing, just in a serpentine pattern kind of thing?
Right.
Yeah, like, I've seen these photos, folks, and you should look it up too. We'll put in the show notes. Like, this, it's a perfectly straight line. There looks like there's an impact site, and this doesn't look like a boulder. It's an elongated object. It looks possibly like a cigar-shaped UFO, like we see in the skies all the time. So this does not look like a boulder whatsoever.
Boulders do not leave shiny metal debris either.
Yeah, plus, how many boulders do you see in fucking Antarctica? Honestly, like, even with all these, like, glaciers and shit, you don't see boulders. You don't see chunks of rock.
No.
Anywhere. So where the fuck would this boulder even come from? NASA, answer us that. NASA, in fact, if you're listening and you'd like to tweet us or send us a message on Instagram and tell us where this fucking boulder would have come from, in Antarctica, that would be awesome. We'd love to speak with you about that.
Yeah, and you know what? If it was a boulder, I think here in a little while we can talk about a potential place the boulder would have came from, and we'll get to that a little bit later in the show.
Okay, well, False seems to have some theories on this boulder, so we'll talk about it. What do we have next on the docket for Antarctica?
I want to talk about the cosmic rays emanating from Antarctica.
Okay, this is a hot topic here. Rays emanating from the Earth.
Yeah, so we know there's cosmic rays that emanate onto the North Pole,
right,
and onto the rest of Earth from space.
For sure, we've got a whole electromagnetic field around the Earth, you know?
Yeah, but there was a NASA adjacent. So it says they're friends of NASA. It's not NASA themselves.
Okay.
They launched a kind of satellite/balloon device to measure those waves, the cosmic rays.
Right. This is Anita, not NASA, right?
Well, Anita is the device.
Oh, that's the name of the device.
Yeah, they're just listed as friends of NASA.
Oh, fuck. I thought, okay. I thought Anita was the friend of NASA. It's like a lady. Okay.
Yeah, so Anita's kind of like you go over to your friend's house and NASA's your friend, and then you start kind of like using NASA's money. And,
okay.
You kind of mooch off of NASA quite a bit as friends. And NASA kind of kicks you out, but you still had quite a bit of NASA's money stored away in your sock drawer.
For sure,
you know, and so then you go out and you get this girlfriend, Anita, which is an acronym for Antarctic Impulse Transient Antenna.
Okay.
And you launch that shit up into space, to measure those rays.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're measuring those rays. With that fucking Anita, they figured out that some of the rays were actually coming from the South Pole itself. Cosmic rays coming from the South Pole. So first they're thinking, okay, these rays are all fucked up and they can travel through the Earth. They can travel through matter. And then they said, no, judging by the horizontal planes of this polarization, they didn't come from space. They didn't travel through the Earth. They're actually emanating from the South Pole. The Earth itself is giving off cosmic rays.
That's crazy. And you don't see mainstream science really talking about this because they don't know what the fuck's going on with it. That the Earth itself is putting out these cosmic rays. And this is not the first time we've heard of the Earth putting out these natural rays.
Yeah.
We've heard this coming from pyramids, coming from other natural or ancient structures that we've studied, these cosmic rays coming out of them. So that may be something that is very key to our future here.
All right, so I alluded to it a little bit ago, earlier in the show, but we're going to talk about a potential reason for that boulder to hit Earth. Should that be the case? It's not. It's bullshit. The boulder is bullshit. It's a fucking UAE for sure. But if it was a boulder, it could have come from the inner Earth itself.
Okay, I can fuck with that. You're talking about the hollow Earth. We're gonna get into some hollow Earth.
Yeah,
stuff.
we're gonna cover some hollow Earth theory, and you guys have heard us talk hollow Earth a little bit through the different species of aliens that inhabit the hollow Earth.
Right.
Just kind of as a reminder, you got the reptilians are in there. You got the deviants. You got the golden race.
They're fucking down there.
All those guys are down there. So the actual inner Earth entrances being on the North and South Pole were first suggested by John Cleve Symes in 1818. So he thought it had a hollow shell, openings at both poles. Due to magnetic distortion, aircraft instruments go haywire near the poles themselves, making these entrances nearly impossible to get to. So basically, you can't get anywhere on ground because of the military bases, and you can't get anywhere in the air because the magnetization of the entrances to the inner Earth is so severe that your instruments go haywire, potentially leading to a plane crash.
Right. So people have just, avoided this shit, right? There's so many, horror stories of expeditions gone awry because, they were thrown off track because their instruments don't work.
Yeah, the John Cleve Symes tried to mount an expedition himself, but he actually missed out on government funding, and they mounted an expedition without him, so he wasn't able to go and prove his theories. And if you think about it, it's really a classic Home Alone situation, and maybe even the inspiration for the movie Home Alone. So basically, like, John's mounting the expedition, and they just kind of leave without him. So then it's like,
it's fucked.
Oh, we forgot John, and they're screaming about it on their way to Paris and shit like that. And this is very different. This is kind of an addition to Home Alone, is there were no phones, so they couldn't confirm that John was still there. And it's kind of like, oh, we're 10 miles down the road, and, we can't really turn around.
No, you can't turn around. They can't call and apologize or anything. So, yeah, John's just, fucked. He's there left alone, not able to go on this whole expedition that he planned. They really just screwed the pooch on this one.
So them screwing the pooch on this expedition leads me into my next point, and this is an actual Redditor planning an expedition.
Oh, fuck yeah,
to
dude.
the
I
pole.
love Reddit.
Yeah. So on our conspiracy, and just like everything else we've talked about, I'm going to drop this in the show notes for you guys. In November of 2018, this Reddit user, Quetzalcoatl was right, began planning an expedition to the North Pole to investigate what he believes to be a portal into hell. So this is the North Pole, but we're considering that both places have an entrance, basically.
Right. The Earth has two holes, yeah, one at both ends.
Yeah, both ends. The user is looking for a team of military men and people with different skill sets that can fully explore the inner Earth. The team cannot know each other as to keep the sanctity of the mission intact. Now, according to that Redditor, only 2 to 3% of the population is capable of going on a mission such as this, and he considers it a suicide mission.
So, fucking Quetzalcoatl is right, or user Quetzalcoatl was right, he's ready to die for this. He's ready to fucking die to see what's going on with Antarctica, and he believes it's a portal to hell, so I guess that makes sense on the suicide mission.
Yeah, he's going directly to hell.
He wants to travel to fucking hell.
He wants to battle Satan.
Holy shit. So he wants to do like a literal highway to hell mission here.
Yeah.
And he's trying to recruit an elite 2 to 3% of the population off of Reddit.
There was no word in the thread whether he was going to need a fiddle player or not, but I would assume if you're going into a battle with Satan, you're going to take a fiddle player with you.
Yeah, he needs to fucking call up Charlie Daniels.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Charlie Daniels would probably be on board, seeing as he recorded a concept album about Behold a Pale Horse. This sounds right up his alley.
Oh, and I still need to listen to that, but from what False has told me, that fucking concept album whips.
Oh yeah, it slaps. It destroys the early works of the Charlie Daniels Band. Forget everything you know.
Yeah, fuck Devil Went Down to Georgia. Check out, if you've read Behold a Pale Horse by Bill Cooper, you need to check out this concept album by Charlie Daniels Band. If you haven't read that book, drop whatever you're doing right now. If you're in the car, pull over, stop, get, on your phone, whatever electronic device you have, and download this book and read it immediately. It's world changing. it's basically like a conspiracy Bible.
Yeah, we wouldn't even have Alex Jones if it wasn't for Bill Cooper. Conspiracy really took shape as a concrete idea for all of us through Bill Cooper.
For sure. So definitely check that out, and check out that album for real. And also check out Antarctica. See if you find a portal to hell there. I have personally seen some photos of some openings that definitely look like holes, but a portal to hell, I do not know. That is up to you to decide, and let us know on social media, or leave us a voicemail.
Yeah, and that could tie back in with our friends, the Deviants, even.
That's true. I know for myself, I'm not fucking traveling down there, dude. It's too fucking cold. I'm definitely not down for a suicide mission.
No, not at all.
To find any kind of portal to hell. I'll gladly Google some, images of it, but even that seems a little bit scary in these days, in this day and age, in these times like this. You're Googling shit, and that could be a suicide mission.
Yeah,
what I'm saying? You Google the wrong thing, and your FBI agent's giving you a call.
It's like the Hillary snuff film. They say don't even Google the Hillary snuff film, or you'll get offed.
Right, you might get CP'd, and we don't want anybody getting CP'd
no.
on here, and we don't want anybody to. We really don't want anybody to see the Hillary snuff film. I'll tell you right now, we've seen it because we put out a call for leaks, and people do send us leaks here. Some things we don't share, like that. We chose not to share it, and we chose to delete it immediately because we did not want to get CP'd. Like we've said, we've already had our podcast deleted. We've been deplatformed and shit. But I will say, Hillary's a beast, man. It could have been deep faked. I'll say that, because I've seen that Jim Carrey in The Shining shit. And so, it really could have been deep faked. They do also, Party Galaxy has some pretty realistic masks these days. So I'll admit, I've seen some weird parody porns with some Hillary masks as well. But this was definitely just a murder.
Yeah, and I have just a couple points to talk about it, and then I'll leave it be because I don't want to get CP'd. First off, I thought it could have been a little bit more tasteful. I thought it could have been tasteful. I thought it could have been a little bit more erotic. I gotta be honest. I was soft as shit, not a single chub watching that thing.
I was with him, and this might sound weird, but I can confirm because he was wearing sweatpants that there was no tent forming. He was completely flaccid.
Yeah, and if anybody can speak to it, the doc can. I am rock hard 24/7. I am popping those blue chews.
Right, he does chew blue chew like gum, which is not healthy or safe, but he's rocking a bone a lot of the time just for party purposes. And you got to respect that, so I don't really call him out on it. But often, like we've talked about on the show, when you have a UFO experience or something, you might shit yourself, you might pop a boner. Sometimes I pop a bone, and False does that with conspiracy stuff. Like sometimes when he gets a hot take on something, when he feels like he's stumbled upon something that he's about to expose, or he feels like he's cracked a case on a conspiracy, he will get a raging natural boner. Not one induced by blue chews or Cialis or anything, but just an all natural. A natch boner.
Yeah, and I really just use the blue chews as a training tool,
right.
just so it will kind of get hard and it remembers how to do it. So if you keep it hard 24/7, when the time comes when I'm finally going to get to use that thing, on a woman,
Yeah.
It'll know just what to do.
Yeah, and we're talking again, like we talked about earlier in the episode. We're talking about a barely legal woman.
Yeah.
Since that Epstein stuff is pretty out there in the public, we're all against pedophilia. Nobody is a pedo here. No one is into CP at all.
No.
So like we're definitely talking barely legal, girls gone wild. For false, and that's going to happen for you someday. I truly believe it. We're going to manifest it with our minds.
Yeah, I've already got my ID scanner to prove that it's not a fake ID too. You know, just to make sure that it's barely legal. So on the opposite end of the spectrum, I mean, we just covered Hollow Earth, which we'll cover in depth in a full episode later on. But here's another topic that you guys have been chomping at the bit for, just demanding, and is really a big topic right now, the flat Earth. So what's interesting about the flat Earth model is that fucking Antarctica doesn't even exist. There is no South Pole in the flat Earth model.
No. Antarctica is basically like this ice wall just around the flat Earth. So almost like Game of Thrones style ice wall surrounding us, and that's it.
Yeah, and it keeps the oceans from just falling off the edge.
Yeah, that way the oceans don't flop off like you've seen in many like jokes about flat Earth and like Schoolhouse Rock and Looney Tunes and shit like that. But we'll get into an entire Flat Earth episode very soon. I know a lot of our listeners want it. We know it's a big subject, and we want to do the proper research here at Bridging Realms to bring you the definitive answers and the things you need to know about Flat Earth. But next on our Antarctica list is another big topic in conspiracy land, and that's the connections to Atlantis.
Yeah, so in 2018, Graham Maple of the YouTube channel Conspiracy Depot made a shocking discovery, a temple lying just below the surface in Antarctica. Graham was investigating Antarctica from Google Earth when he came across the structure that appeared to have resurfaced due to thawing ice. All sides of the structure are identical in size and appear to point at the discovery of this ancient civilization. And guys, there's some better pictures now, too, of this temple just straight out in Antarctica. It was inhabited at one time.
For real, you should look this up. Again, this is another story referencing Google Earth. This is another Google Earth warrior, really just doing that work. And we definitely encourage you, our listeners, to get on Google Earth and fucking search everywhere. Look at shit. It's a way to basically be the big brother that you don't want. It's like that technology's out there, so just might as well turn it on them and look at their shit. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So,
I was on there the other day and was just like checking out houses, and I saw this like fucking weird old man, I mean, you just see this fucking weird old man like coming out of the garage, and he looks very surprised that the Google Earth car is there, but his face is blurred, so maybe he's witness protection,
Yeah, you can I've actually like looked at your house false on Google Earth. I'm not going to give away like where that is here, so
right.
The listeners can look, but I looked and definitely saw you outside in, you knew the satellite was there, like giving a middle finger and nude, and they had to blur your crotch area.
Yeah, they did not blur the face whatsoever, but they did in fact blur the crotch. I guess maybe Google's blurring technology can only handle one area at a time. Yeah,
and so if I carried on to some of the like later photos, and they did a very interesting thing that you see on TV sometimes, and they blurred your ass crack. So you afterwards, False bent over and actually spread his ass cheeks at the satellite. You know how some people will pose for the Google car when it comes through their on their street? False actually has this technology where he likes to track the Google satellites, and so he knew when it was coming over his house, and so he flipped it off and waved his dick and spread his ass cheeks for the Google Earth satellite.
Yeah, so there does exist out there a 2,000 megapixel image of my ass crack.
Right, and it's blurred. You cannot see False's asshole. They blurred just the crack.
Yeah, and Google has a long history of censoring cracks, as we stated previously, like the big crack, the hole in the center of the South Pole. So, yeah, back to Atlantis, though. So, one temple has emerged, but basically they won't call it a temple. They're trying to say it's maybe a mountain range or something similar to that, a rock formation. But this thing is completely symmetrical on all sides, and it appears to be more than one of them.
Right. It looks like a total pyramid. And we've seen this happen with, stuff like the Bosnian pyramids, where these things come about. They're discovered. They're clearly pyramids, and they're not ready to call them that, even though they look just like the ones in Egypt, just like the ones we see in Mexico and South America. Those popped up halfway across the world from each other, and so it totally makes sense for me to see them pop up in like Bosnia or Antarctica. But it would mean, especially for Antarctica, for pyramids to come out of the ice, that the Earth is much older than we thought. It's old as fuck. And people, their brains can't handle the Earth being, that old as fuck.
Yeah, and they can't handle the fact that Antarctica was at one time not covered in ice,
Right.
That kind of fucks with global warming if you think about it, that basically people inhabited it when it had no ice on it. So did the world even have ice at that time?
Right. And what kind of shit's under there? What kind of structures, what kind of animals could be totally frozen? That we know that they have found a fucking baby woolly mammoth and shit.
Yeah.
You can look up the pictures of that. It's gross as fuck. But it's also interesting as fuck because this is a preserved, millions of years old fucking animal. So what else is down there in the ice, Is there some fucking Flintstones shit like we talked about on our last episode? Watch the Flintstones. Are they going to find some fucking cars with feet holes or a fucking dishwasher run by a mammoth and a parrot or some shit?
Are they going to find fish people? Are they going to find fish people down there?
Atlantean fish people. Are we going to find Jason Momoa's super jacked frozen cavemen dudes? Are they going to find, crashed alien craft, which is another rumor going around about Antarctica? That maybe there's some frozen ancient alien spaceships under the ice.
Yeah, and Bob Lazar himself has been on the record that out of the, I believe he said 10 crafts that the government has, at least one of them was recovered from an archaeological dig.
Right, so these things could be super old. They could be, ancient aliens like the show suggests. But they could be under the ice there. So I hope that people continue to explore Antarctica. I know for us, we'll continue to explore it from Google Earth. No way I'm going down there. You can please, give to the Bridging Realms project, but that is not on our list of things. We are not planning any kind of expedition down to Antarctica or anything, but you can fund our computers to help us search Google Earth and fight their censorship.
Yeah, I could really use a new graphics card that would help me do the 3D modeling required to really view these structures.
Right. So once we get done with our fight with Patreon, and they will, quit trying to tell us that we owe them money, we can get our Patreon set back up, and you, the loyal listener, can start giving to us monthly, and then we can get you more exclusive content.
Bridging Realms is a part of the Bridging Realms Network in association with the Bridging Realms Project, with additional support provided by Realmies like you. Follow us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Bridging Realms Project.